Good afternoon, dear friends. I'm here to extend a warm welcome to the distinguished guest, supporting team, participants, the promoters, and the well-wishers of the webinar organized by the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Jyoti Engineering College, Thrissur, in association with SA India and AMES Jyoti Engineering College. This webinar stressed the importance on virtual labs. I take this opportunity to introduce you to a renowned personality. Dr. K.V. Gangadharan is professor in mechanical engineering and head of the Center for System Design, President, Institute Innovation Council, NIT Surathkal. He received the BTech degree in mechanical engineering from Calicut University, Calicut, ME degree from NIT Trichy, and PhD degree in Railroad Vehicle Dynamics from IIT Madras. Having close to 29 years of experience in teaching, research, and industry, he is actively engaged in industrial consultancy and sponsored research projects. He published more than 120 research articles in Scopus Essay Journal. He has filed 7 patents, 4 in the area of medical devices and 3 in smart material application. In addition, he is the charge of amateur radio facility at NIT Surathkal. His research interest includes system design, vibration and its control, smart material and its applications, structural health monitoring, and product design. He is also actively engaged in creating learning materials for experiential learning for basic concept in engineering. Also, I welcome Benel Thomas, Shrestha, and Aishwarya Heads for technical supports. Without much introduction, we extend a warm welcome in the name of this assembly and the prestigious institution, Jyoti Engineering College, Thrissur. The success of this program, the enthusiasm of the active participation of the delegates, we extend a warm welcome to all the delegates assembled here. Welcome all. I hand over the session to Dr. Gangadharan sir and team.
Yeah, very pleasant good morning. Hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Yes, sir.
So, very pleasant good afternoon. Now we have reached the good afternoon. So, I'll just straight away start presenting the screen and then we'll keep talking on the presentation itself. So, on behalf of National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, very warm welcome for a very exciting journey which we are going to take up in this difficult time. So, I would like to invite all of you to my institute, but unfortunately you cannot come now. So please have a look at our V-Tour, virtual tour at nitk.ac.in to get a feel of what is the environment we have around at NITK Surathkal. Obviously, to people from Kerala, I don't need to talk about the seaside. We are on the seaside and we are quite concerned about the nature. Hence, we have 1 megawatt solar power which is grid connected. So welcome to the topic for the day, Virtual Lab, a tool for online classes and lab. So we are not looking at Virtual Lab as a laboratory class alone. How do a teacher make use of this for online classes, or a student or a learner make use of this for an online classes? What we'll do is we'll just keep, I see some others are presenting, Annadam is presenting. So if what you can do is you can put my presentation as pinned. If you look at the bottom, I have another screen wherein I am seeing what you are seeing. So you need to click on the presentation, within bracket Gangadharan KV will be there. So please click on that. That should give you my presentation. The person now presenting, can you just avoid? Yeah, thank you. So click on to and stop sharing and again share. Otherwise, you will not see that the presentation as such. But the presentation will be there. Yeah. Hope you are able to see this again.
Yeah, visible, sir.
So all of us are here for this interesting journey. May not be dressed up well because most of you, all of us are from our own house. So I had to just put something on the top to make sure that I look at least on the camera okay to be seen. We have a world. We had a world without engineers. We have a world with engineers. And this with engineers world, how do we make it much more interesting and engaging is what we are looking at. Now, let us just look at, did we change? Are we going back from the Facebook to the ape? Just let us just look at whether are we changing or not. I think you are seeing the previous screen, so I need to just get back to my full screen. So what I will do is I will, instead of presenting you, I'll present the entire screen so that I can keep switching between the okay. So have we changed? So look around. I'm sure that you're going to see this kind of situation all around. Whatever beauty we see all around, but we are just glued to our 5-inch screen. Now the teachers have a task to convert this 5-inch screen to the learning tool in this difficult situation. So that's what we are going to look at. And we have changed a lot. Now our signboards also have changed. Whether it is virtual reality or reality, we are the same old person. Just look at the person who is there and looking at what really is. And did our classroom change a lot? Believe me, it is the same for 100 years. It's only the camera which took the picture had color and did not have color. It was monochrome earlier. Otherwise, things have not changed much. We have been keeping our students shut their mouth by force. And we are so good as teachers to evaluate them in such a way that irrespective of what they are good at, we'll tell them to do the same exam. Whether you are a creeping member or a flying member or a swimming one, I will evaluate you by just climbing the tree. If you could climb the tree, I will say, yes, you are successful, otherwise not. And this, we may not have much of an option, but can I create each of these creatures who comes to me as a student, a much better person and enabling the skills in the available time which is given to us, even in this online mode, is the question. We do make people feel so bad because the fish could not climb the tree. We make them feel stupid, and that we do quite often in the class too. So let us realize this and make sure that we are doing justice. Maybe you can look at this picture: equality, equity, and justice. This is an online mode. Obviously, all of you are at the comfort of your home. So I need you to chat and just share your input. In your opinion, where are we now? Are we in equity or equality or in justice in education? I'm waiting for your input. I'm looking at my next screen so that I can see what input you are giving on the chat box. You have another 60 seconds. Please feel free to do a chat. I'm waiting. Just look at the screen, and in your opinion, you can just, suppose if you want a bigger picture, I'm going to put the previous one. This is what we are equating to the education, equality, equity, and justice. So where are we? In your opinion, where are we now? I'm looking for your input on chat box. So I would like some of you to give an answer in the chat box for me to continue. Can you type in the chat box, where are we? In your opinion, where are we now? Beryl, you are able to hear me?
Yes, sir, it's audible. It's going fine only. Presentation is also fine.
So it is not that they are not hearing. Yeah, professors from Jyoti Engineering College, can anyone type something on the chat box for me to continue?
Sir, there are chat messages are there coming.
Okay, good. I missed it. I did not move. Sorry, it is my mistake. Good. So many. So many have options, whether it is equality, equity, or justice. But we are not discussing about whether are we providing equal opportunity, or those who are shorter, we are giving an better support, or we are removing the barrier itself. But in this looks to be the reality. You can just look at the picture and see whether and we are looking for a liberation. I'm sure all of you will have different opinion on this, but this is required for me to just get into what we are looking at as how in this online mode, we need to look at subjects and teaching subject. So I'll just start with an unstructured problem statement. Assume that all the teachers going to the first year class and going to give them an unstructured problem statement, and you are expecting them to find solutions. Okay, so I know from the emblem what is written there, you have identified it as something to do with AIDS, and that too, it is on Africa. 1990 Africa, the issue was the spread of AIDS was threatening the entire African continent. And most of the Westerners came to find solutions, and they found the entire community need to be educated about why and how it is spreading. So the only mode of communication to the villages were radio sets, transceivers. So they donated radio to every villager and made sure that they have local programs available in the radio. And after 3 months, they went back, the people who have donated went back to see how is the effectiveness. To their utter surprise, after 3 months, they saw that nobody was using the radio at all. No one was using the radio. The entertainment programs was in local language. All of them were taught how to use the radio. All that was fine. But nobody was using the radio. Do you think you have a reason why? And if some of you could give me an answer in the chat box, it will be great. So they were not able to, they were not using the radio after 3 months, even though it had a lot of programs which is just for them. What could be the reason why they did not use? And that is a place where we are going to find a solution. And this problem statement is from communicable disease, and the method of avoiding was good. There was quite few answers come. Electricity problem, they did not have electricity, all that, fine. So the problem was they were using radio sets with battery, and if you can imagine those who are struggling for 1 square meal, do you worry about your square meal or worry about the radio sets to be operational by putting 2 batteries in it? So the person who went around to do the survey was an person who was training people in that swimming pool from Britain, and he found it is ridiculous. He just said, yes, if this is a situation, if power is the issue, I am finding a solution. Okay, he connected AIDS and the energy. Remember, I am connecting AIDS and energy, not the energy which you are looking at as the muscle power, but AIDS and electricity is what we are trying to connect. And the solution which he found out was just a wind-up radio. I'll just show you how it looked like. He just made sure that he has a wind-up radio which is wound for 2 minutes, and it works for almost 1 hour. It's called free play wind-up radio. You look at the solution domain. Solution domain is from engineering, and the concept which he has used was to do with what is already known. And there was nothing new which he has found out, but he has just used what is existing in a self-winding watch or many other applications in that time. And after that, we have just made few more modification on that. Now, the question is, when we are seeing a problem statement of this kind, are we in a position to get down into what we already know and put things in perspective and find and make a solution? If we are able to do, we have done justice to 4 years of cruel teaching which we do in an engineering institution. So we make them to undergo a lot of tests, assignments, all that. If we do justice, then they should be able to solve these kind of problems, which could be from a communicable disease, but the problem statement came and said it is to do with communication, then the radio, but to be effective, we found out the relation with AIDS and energy. Look at the way in which things have been connected and interconnected. So to create such a situation where every learner is able to use what he or she learned for a problem solving in a domain which may not be from the studied domain is what we are looking at. For that, if you really want to do, we should experience the concept rather than understanding the concept or remembering the concept. Now, let us imagine that I will give you a textbook and ask you to learn cycling. Okay, I will give you the complete dynamic equation, how to solve and how to balance between 2 points. What happens when mg is moving, m is moving and g is changing, all that, or your center of gravity changing, everything I will teach you. And I want you to do cycling. I can feel the giggle on your face now when I say so. And the same way, I'll teach you buoyancy, I will teach you about everything related to swimming. And I want you to swim. I will not take you to the water, but I want you to swim. Aren't we doing the same thing in engineering? So the question is, we expect our engineers after 4 years to do engineering, but we make them read engineering. We make them read engineering. At the end, we expect them to do engineering. Let us do engineering rather than read engineering. During this 4 years of time when they are with us, the students are with us, let us make them do engineering rather than read engineering. That is what we are looking at. And that too, we should be able to do in an online mode because we are forced to do it now. Now, after some time, the classes will start in KTU and you will be all going online and the teachers will have to cover the syllabus and the students will discover the syllabus later when exam comes. All that will happen online. So if so, how do we go forward is the question. So how do we evolve from telling concept to experiencing the concept? I'll take 2 examples, 1 or 2 examples to take you through that. Now, assume that one student is trying to look at a landing gear as a problem statement. Okay, so I'm trying to see or explain the problem of a landing gear. And it could be for a student from aeronautical background or from a mechanical background or somebody from electronics or electrical engineering who have been asked to work on control system on landing gear. Okay, my task now is to communicate how the landing gear works. So let us go forward. And I'll explain them why landing gear, what they have to do, etc. And here, now we will assume that we are asking an electrical engineer to work on it and we want them to work on the control system, but we need them to understand the basics of the operation. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate how things are operated because you don't want the landing gear to be shown all the time there and it has to be taken out when it is not required. So here comes the activity which we need. We have a required position and a position whenever it is required, it should be available. And after that, we should be able to fold it back. So it is a position changing mechanism. I need to change the position. This is one requirement. So assume that we have got a group of students or a single student trying to work on landing gear control, but either he is from mechanical or not from mechanical, both the cases. So this is one situation we face. Second one, I have a computer engineer coming to me and asking, look, I have a problem in the hard disk. The hard disk hand, which is reading the information from the hard disk, is gouging off some of the material at some location. As you know, hard disk rotate at a very high speed, and the arm have to move between sectors to read the information. That means it is constantly on motion. So if this is the situation, if it is moving down and up and removing material from that, I'm trying to look at it from a simple civil engineering perspective. Remember, the domain is something altogether different. The first domain we tried was an aeronautical application, but I brought it to mechanical domain. Here, it's an embedded system or a computer device where I'm trying to bring this to an civil engineering perspective. Okay, let us look at the arm. The arm is moving. As it moves, I want that to be made sure that it is not moving down even when I am disturbing it. I think you need to now pin the screen. So what you can do is you just pin the screen. Hope that should work, because every time if I remove the screen and come back, it's going to be difficult. I think I need to Yeah, so this is a case which we have looked at. So I'm converting this arm to a cantilever beam and trying to analyze why is it gouging out material when it is disturbed and left. Okay, so I'm just taking a simple cantilever beam, giving a constant force and seeing how much is the deflection it comes. Then I'm going to change that into a dynamic situation wherein the load is given, which is varying with respect to time. Then I should get a second order differential equation of this kind. Don't worry, I'm not going to frighten you with mathematics. So this is a situation which we have come. You look at the domain, it was hard disk. Now I have brought it down to something civil engineer does day in and day out. Okay. Then we can also analyze it from the vibration perspective and find out what parameter need to be changed in order to make sure that it's not gouging out material. Even if I disturb the beam, the cantilever beam, it should not have too much of an oscillation, and that comes from probably either civil engineering or mechanical engineering perspective, system dynamics, and that too structural dynamics. Okay, so now you have a chance. All of you have been listening to me for quite some time. Now, in a hard disk, if you look at, you will see a hole, small hole, and it is written, the hole do not cover this hole. Can someone type why? In a hard disk, why we need to create a hole and say that it is not to be? Sai Yadav, kindly remove your presentation. Sai Yadav's screen is beautiful, but for the situation, it is not. Now you can pin the screen. That is, all of you can try pinning the presentation screen. I may not change my sharing and undoing it. So those who want to see the presentation, kindly pin the screen. So I have pinned it myself on my screen, so I'll not get disturbed with somebody else presenting it. So many are saying they are pinning it. So please pin it so that you will not get disturbed, even if some novice who doesn't know how to make sure that etiquettes of the online activity so they don't need to get worried. So you can just pin my presentation screen. So even if somebody else present, you don't need to worry. Okay, so we saw two category of things. One from a kinematics perspective, another from a vibration perspective. One I connected to mechanical, another I connected to civil engineering. Okay. Now during this period, that COVID period, we are looking at situations where all the teachers are asked to go online. Okay. So now it is a time to dream. What I want you to dream is not this. I just was a bit mischievous on that. Let us see what we are going to dream. So I'm sure that we have now people from administration, that is principal HODs, and maybe the administrators, the people who are worried about how much money we can spend, etc. Then the professors and faculty members, of course, our beautiful students who makes our life happy. So all of them are going to dream about teaching and learning. The administrator always think about, look, the admission itself is in trouble. I may not be able to put a lot of money for new things. The teacher is going to ask me, look, I have been reading and learning so much. Don't ask me to change too much, or don't ask me to do too many things because I have to do online. And student says, I am comfortable and give me anything which interests me, but give me things which I require. So these are the dreams which we are going to put together for people who are looking at that online learning and teaching and learning. So we are going to dream about the lab and an LMS, learning management system. Make sure that my screen is pinned, otherwise you will see only the other participants on that. You should see on your right corner, top corner, my presentation. You can pin it. Just move there. Yeah, somebody has said you are not presenting. I am presenting, sir. Go to the right corner, top corner. Move your mouse. There will be a pin to screen emblem comes. Click on that. Because as soon as I again present, there should be someone else who doesn't know how to operate on an online mode will do presentation. Now you can see Sai Kumar Yadav is again up. So please do this. That is the best way because Google Meet is meant for gentlemen. There is no provision for you to control others because it is meant for a gentleman's activity. Hence, please make sure that you pin my screen. Now, I said I am dreaming about a lab and a learning management system. What I need is, I need this at my place. Whatever lab I am looking at, my place, my pace, and my period. So whatever time I like to do an experiment, I should be able to do. So don't ask me what experiment, but I would like to do the experiment or learning at my time. Okay, so this is my first requirement. And second requirement is take home lab or carry with me. And I don't want a lab with lock and key. I want a lab with no holidays.
Sir, screen share, sir.
Screen sharing, sir. You need to, now I see my screen is on the middle. You need to pin it again. You need to pin the screen. Okay, once again, I'll just share for the request. Okay, I'm sharing the entire screen so that this will be visible to you only until the next person does a screenplay or screen presentation. Okay, so please just understand where it is and then pin it. That will be an easy method. So we also want the lab to be just for our syllabus. You can very well say, sir, I am from Kerala Technical University or Abdul Kalam Technical University. I want things to be for my syllabus. Can you give me? So this is the dream, remember. And the students are going to ask, can I get my dream job using these things? Or can I change my job? Or can I grow in the job? Or can I shift the job? All these questions have put together is the answer which we are going to give. So we have put all the dream specifications, a lab and an LMS at our place, pace and period, a lab where experiment can be repeated, a lab and LMS for just for our syllabus, just for KTU syllabus, a lab and LMS for that makes the job interview easier, and things of that kind. We have put all that together. And the answer for this is virtual lab. It is from Ministry of Education. Now, MHRD was the old name, Ministry of Education, and it's under National Mission on Education through ICT. You can see the participating institutions below. There are 12 institutions, and NITK is one of the institutions which develops virtual lab. What is virtual lab? It is just about having 3 different kinds of labs available for you. One is model-based lab, other one is measurement-based lab or remote triggered lab. We'll just show you how it operates, because the physical lab will be elsewhere or a model will be elsewhere. You are just connecting through internet and using it. Or what we do is everything happens at your client machine. So not much of a traffic will be there between the server and the machine and your client or the client which you are using. Hence the bandwidth usage will be less. And it doesn't also require a lot of data traffic as well as bandwidth. So that is how it has been designed. So the vlab.co.in is the place, and rtlab.nitk.ac.in is the place where we will get RT lab, remote triggered lab. Okay, I'll straight away go to the lab itself. So you can see the virtual lab. So here probably I will show 1 or 2 labs, then my colleagues, my team members will take you through different labs in different domain. So what we'll do is, this is the virtual lab site. These are the broad domains and the institutions which participating in making it. Okay, so let us see what NITK has made. These are the list of items which NITK made. So assume that I'll take the case of the landing gear issue. So I want the landing gear to be folded back. So assume that I have taken a case of a landing gear, and finally I want something like this to be available. And those are from mechanical, obviously it is quite known to them. It's kinematics of machine or theory of machines depending upon the syllabus. We call it as mechanics of machine. So I should be able to change parameters and make sure that I understand what happens. And this can be used in 2 ways. Either in your question paper, if you have some typical example given or exercise given, you can enter the value and find out these parameters which you want. Even though this is from a mechanical domain, it can be looked at from one input rotation and what are the responses the system gives. So from here, I may be able to find out what is the position at every given time for each of the link or CG of the link or endpoint of the link. So from here, we'll move forward and say that I would like to know what is the velocity of each link. So that if I know the velocity of the link and the mass, I know what is the kinetic energy that element has. So kinetic energy will tell me how much work I can get it done through that link. So whether the landing gear will go down properly or it will get stuck at between, all that can be analyzed using this kind of analysis. Now, from here, if the link is moving, then we have acceleration which comes in. So I can now look at acceleration of each link. You can see the acceleration of each link. In fact, in a normal classroom, it's very difficult to draw this on a board and convince the student saying that this is what I intend to give you. So we suggest these things can be used both as an experimental activity or as a hands-on activity in the normal classroom. When you are taking the class, probably in online class, you can just throw open this website and ask them to see this and change parameters. Some parameter can be changed. I'll just go to different locations, input, and find out what is the velocity. Okay, this can be done. And then you can also ask the students to find out what happens. Some length is varied. What kind of variation can it come? all this variation is possible because it is a simulation mode. Okay, so what we did is, for a landing gear application, I wanted to see how do I make sure that it is moving up and down, where we looked at position at each of the place, then velocity and acceleration. So after finding the acceleration, we look at dynamics. And here, next simulation show you how dynamics can be understood. And from there, you'll see the screen wherein we'll have the dynamics shown. Again, the same, but here I'm going to make use of acceleration, which I have already found out. So I'll mark the acceleration on the CG, then try to find out what is a reaction force or inertia force, then do all the calculations. So it has become more domain specific now, because I will not get into domain. We are trying to convince you about use of virtual lab rather than a domain specific understanding. From here, we are moving forward to see the analysis of our cantilever beam. So the cantilever beam experiment we had put, saying that it has to be done with respect to our case of a HDD, that is hard disk. So I'm now trying to see how the response is. So look at this. If you're able to focus on this area, here, I'm going to change some parameter. What I need is, I need this to be moving up and down, but I should not cross below this line, that is the horizontal line. I'm going to change some parameter. So those who are not from the domain, don't worry what parameter I'm changing. You see, by designing appropriately, I may be able to get a beam which may, when get displaced, come back to its initial position without overshooting. So what I have changed is the energy consuming element in the member is changed. And in fact, that is a major activity in a hard disk. If you get an opportunity to see a hard disk, see how the damping is improved and increased in a hard disk without having any liquid or suspension systems. That will be a very interesting thing to see. Even though it is not directly from a civil engineering or a mechanical engineering field, the concept which is applied there is second order differential equation and the energy consuming term, which is called damping in the system, which is controlled electromechanically or electromagnetically. That is how it is done. There is an eddy current damper provided in that, so that it can always make sure that it goes and reads what it is required to read, and without removing the material. Okay, so you can also look at things like this, and then we'll just see one experiment probably on a remote trigger. I'll just take you one experiment on a remote trigger. So look at this. I'm just connecting it. There is a pendulum, which is a real pendulum at our institute. We have just made it for you to see how it looked like. I'm also giving you the live feed. And I'm going to change. I'll just trigger first and come back to, yeah. So I have just triggered the pendulum, and you can see whether. So I saw that Jyoti Engineering College has a specific mechatronics BTech program. I'm sure that student and faculty members from mechatronics would love to do such things. It's really a mechatronics activity. So I have just triggered this and have sensors to sense what data it comes, and I can make sure that it comes back and do all the analysis. So instead of going to a laboratory, I should be able to do an experiment sitting at my place on an actual experimental setup. I'll just change the length. Just look at the green button. What I'm doing is I'm changing the length now. I've just changed it to a smaller position. You can see the length is changed. Okay, after changing this length, I would like to do an experiment again. I want to trigger. Okay, I am triggering it. If you have noticed, we have not did any login. It is all open, and any one of you who want to try out should be able to try it out. Okay, so I did an experiment again. It's a physical experiment. It's not on a simulation. It's an actual, you can see the timestamp here. So it's an actual experiment. Data 1 and data 2, both data are available. Students are allowed to download it. You can conduct this experiment and see what happens when the length is changed, what happens to the time period, what happens to the damping ratio, and what is logarithmic decrement. All that can be analyzed using this. So with this, what we'll look at is, I'll just move from here to, yeah. So now instead of me asking any questions, so we'll just look at what we looked at. I just looked at how do we perform our task as a teacher or as a student in this pandemic situation where we are forced to go online, and how do we provide experiential learning in an online environment like this is the question which we are asking. And one solution which we made is to provide experiential learning. You should be able to use something readily available, which started somewhere around 2009 or so, the experiential learning modules creation by some of the high learning institutions in India, led by IIT Delhi under NMEICT mission to develop virtual labs. So this virtual lab can be used in this pandemic situation as an experiential learning tool. It could be to provide concept clarity or to do an actual experiment. So with this, I'll wind up my presentation, and I will request my team members to continue with presentation. Beryl, who is next?
Sir, I'll be taking over next.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Beryl. You can go on.
Gangadharan sir, thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay sir. I will be there. I'll come back at the end again. No talk, but we'll just see whether there is any questions.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay.
So, very good afternoon to all the participants who are, as I understand, faculty members as well as students from Jyoti Engineering College, Thrissur, and also other institutions from different parts of the region. So myself, Beryl Thomas, I am a senior research fellow at Center for System Design, NIT Suratgarh. And I will be just demonstrating a few experiments from the Virtual Labs platform for the particularly focusing on the domain of computer science and engineering. So before that, I have shared the curriculum mapping for KTU as well as Anna University and VTU on the chat box, so which will serve as a handy tool for faculty members as well as students, and also the circular by Kerala Technical University that was published yesterday on their website regarding the use of virtual labs, and also turning up as asking colleges to turn up as nodal centers of virtual labs. So I'll just start sharing my screen. I hope my voice is audible, and I'll just start sharing my screen. Can I get a feedback on whether my screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna. So we are on the Virtual Labs homepage, which is already familiarized to you by Professor K.V. Gangadharan in his introductory lecture. And the portal has been an evolving tool for virtual experiential learning for different subjects. So we can see 9 broad areas listed over here, 9 different subject areas. And also you can find that there are quite a few other domains also that is being considered, and in which subjects are tried to be covered by the Virtual Labs consortium of 12 participating institutions, including NIT. So I'll be specifically dealing with a few experiments from the computer science and engineering domain. So unlike I'll just so to go to a specific broad area, you will have to come to this portion of the home page and click that specific broad area. So if you click computer science engineering, you will be taken to a list of labs, a list of subjects in computer science and engineering, and correspondingly to each subject you will find the name of the participating institute that has contributed to development of that particular lab. So as you have already seen from mechanical engineering or civil engineering, or in the case of any core branches, we have a different kind of a problem from computer science, because you have to simulate or animate real physical activities that you are supposed to perform for an experiment, for a lab, using real experimental apparatuses or machines or tools to create an experiment digitally or on a virtual platform. But in the case of computer science engineering, it's a different problem, because almost all the experiments that a computer science engineering student and teacher will be dealing with will be virtual after all, because you will be working on a computer, you will be working on an IDE tool or a compiler or some kind of system software for your purpose. So what's there in addition? So except the case of electronics labs, which will be dealt with separately, except the case of the hardware or electronics based labs, we will be more or less computer science faculty and students will be working on such things. So what is the methodology in which virtual labs are created in computer science? So I'll take you to one of the older labs in computer science, which is called Computer Programming Lab, developed by IIIT Hyderabad. So in this, you can see the list of experiments. It's a little bit different from the way the lab was presented in the mechanical domain. So if you go from one experiment to the other, one subject to the other, you'll find that the layout and structure will be different a little bit, but more or less the structure and the contents will be the same. So I'll take one of these experiments called arrays. Then in the arrays experiment, you will find that the theoretical background and simulation and quiz self-evaluation are all there, just like the case of the experiments that Sir has already demonstrated from the mechanical engineering domain. So I'll not go to the theoretical details, they're anyway there. And if you go to the experiment, you will find this kind of a window. So it's an array experiment, and it is mentioned that insertion sort is getting demonstrated over here. So once you initialize this part, so all these things, what to do, how to do, are all explained here in the procedure. All the instructions are given in the procedure, and once you initialize it, I have set a value array size of 5 and random value generation, and you will get a C code of insertion sort algorithm and a randomly generated input. So what exactly labs or experiments in computer programming does in general is that it tries to give the students a conceptual understanding or a clear cognitive understanding of the subject, rather than going into just virtualizing or animating or simulating the experiments as such. So you can do it on a GCC or G++ compiler anyway. But when you're normally, when a student is trying out an experiment on the compiler or on the IDE, they'll be either writing the code by themselves, looking at the algorithm from somewhere, or they might be even copy pasting the code and executing it and finding the results. They might not be getting a clear understanding of how things are working. So here in this particular experiment, what exactly happens is you will get to see how exactly the code is functioning for any custom input. So remember, if you change this initialization values, random value, the input values as well as size, you can change this to any different arrays. You can try arrays of different sizes, you can try best case, worst case, different types of inputs like that. So what will happen is each time I click next over here, the code will execute one line of code from this program, and what change it brings to the given array. So here in the first iteration of this for loop in this algorithm, the first two elements were swapped and the key position was incremented to the next level. So you can see that the key position is indicated by yellow and the sorted position is indicated by green, and the remaining portion is shown as blue. So with each iteration of the loop, with execution of each line of code, how the given input. So remember, the input can be customized as well. So how the given input is getting transformed to the output. So here for the first time we are getting to see that the process will involve a swapping. Since these two elements are not in sorted condition, they will be swapped at the end of the iteration of this inner while loop. And since there are no further elements that are smaller than that, it will finalize and go to the next element by incrementing the I value in the for loop. So this way, how any given input is transformed into the output is clearly demonstrated or clearly followed. Each step by step, line by line, it is followed to give the students a clear understanding of the concept. So I'll just finish running this code. So the last element also was swapped, and it will give a message after this return statement that the code running is over. So like this, in all the experiments in computer programming lab, so you find approximation functions, control flow, all these experiments are demonstrated on the basis of a default C language code that is written as part of the experiment, and how a customized input or customized condition is altered by that particular algorithm, but by that particular code is demonstrated throughout all the other experiments of this particular lab. So this is one kind of lab or experiment in the computer science domain. So I'll quickly go to one more type of lab, that is in data structures. So data structures, if you know the subject, it's a very theoretical subject whose foundation is important for students to code or program in any language. So you can find that there is a new data structures lab in the list, and also there is an older data structures lab. So we would recommend you to go with the newer lab, which is recently developed and launched. So if you go to the lab list, you will find different kind of layout from the computer programming lab that we saw earlier. It is more of a standard layout that is followed these days, because this was actually a lab that was launched just a few months back after we entered the lockdown phase. So if you take one of the experiments from this data structures lab, you'll find that it is very resource rich compared to the older labs. It is very resource rich. The theoretical explanations, instead of concept notes like we saw in the other experiments, it is explaining with the help of video tutorials. So you can find that there are a lot of video tutorials in the experiments under new data structures lab, and there is a self-evaluation at different levels as part of different lessons. You find that there are pre-test, post-test, and as part of each test, each lesson in the experiment also, you can find that there are quizzes that will check the understanding of the students. So once you come to this algorithm, you can find that the algorithm itself is explained with the help of tutorial videos, which will aid the students in understanding the concept in the best possible way. And also there is a demo as well as practice part. So here in data structures lab, in data structures experiments, you will find that there is no particular coding language that is involved, programming language that is involved. It explains on the basis of animations on the array itself. So it's not using any programming language. It will just demonstrate how the algorithm works on the basis of animated arrays. Or if you go to other trees or stack or queues, you'll find the other respective experiments itself. So it's more of an animation based lab. So each time, so this is selection sort anyway, and in selection sort, as you all will be understanding, you will have to select the smallest element during each iteration and identify the smallest element in each iteration for the rest of the loop and place it to the respective position. So in the first iteration, what will happen is you will have to find the minimum. So in the first loop, you will have to find the minimum value among all the arrays. So if I make a wrong choice, it will prompt me, the observations will prompt me to that I have made a mistake. And at the end of the first iteration of the loop, it will position the smallest element in the array to the first sorted position. And the same way, you will have to update the minimum in the next looping. So this way is how the algorithms are demonstrated and tested in the data structures lab. So you'll find the same way simulations will be working in other experiments as well. And you have an analysis lesson also. So here also you have quite a lot of video tutorials that will help you to understand the time and space complexity aspects of the algorithm and also the comparison with other sorting algorithms, the comparison with different sorting algorithms, how the time and space complexity changes from one algorithm to the other is explained in each of the sorting algorithms. So likewise, in the other experiments also, other data structures experiments like stacks, queues, trees, everything is structured in a similar fashion. And you have a post-test and further reference resources as well. So you know that when it comes to a newer lab, in a recently developed lab, it is far more resource rich compared to the older ones. So it's an evolving project, an evolving resource as such. It's just a case. So how are these labs developed? So as sir has already indicated, this project is actually more than a decade old, and you can find that some of the experiments here are developed 5 or 6 or 7 years back, and like the data structures lab we saw now, few of them are developed just a few months ago. So there is a menu item called New Lab Development in the Virtual Labs homepage. So if you click this, it will take you to the development portal of this Virtual Labs platform. So in this development portal, you get to know a little bit about the how this community project. It's a GitLab based project. So people from the programming background might be knowing about the GitLab repository. So it is a community driven project which is driven by all the participating institutes as well as nodal centers across the country who are contributing resources, experiments. So all these experiments that you see in the virtual lab, more than 1,000 are there. More than 1,000 experiments are there on this platform. They are all developed by students and faculty members across the country for the use of students and faculty members across the country. So this is a very massive pan-India exercise. And here in this virtual lab development portal, you can find an explore labs link. So if you are not able to find a particular experiment, so whether you're from computer science or electronics or mechanical or civil, if you're not able to find a particular subject that you're looking for in the main list of labs under the broad areas under the VLab portal, you can look for it at this explore labs. So here you can find approved labs and labs under development. So these are experiments that are at different stages of development as well as evaluation, which is being undertaken by the participating institutes consortium. And you'll find if you go to the list of labs here under approved labs, you'll find it is not segregated according to departments, but you can see different subjects from all broad areas. So some of the subjects that you are interested in, you are looking for, might be available over here as well. So this is just another place you can look for the resources, the subjects, experiments that you might be looking for. So with this, I will just conclude my session, and I'll hand it over to my colleague Sreshta, who will be taking you through a few experiments from the electronics and communications domain, as well as electrical engineering. So over to you, Sreshta.
Hello.
Yeah, Shrestha, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Shall I continue, sir?
Yes, sir, you can. Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So, very good afternoon to one and all present over here. Myself, Shrestha, working as Senior Research Fellow at Center for System Design and ITK, Surathkal. So, now you have dealt with what exactly is virtual lab and the different labs available under mechanical as well as computer science and engineering domain, right? So, now let's see if you have the labs available under electronics and communication domain. So, let me share my screen. Okay, is my screen is visible, sir? Can I get the feedback, Beryl, sir? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, thank you. Fine. So now you're all familiar with this particular website, right? Website of virtual labs. Fine. So here are the objectives, philosophy, and the selling features of virtual lab. And these are the broad areas where virtual labs have been developed. And these are the participating institutes entitled to this particular project, right? So fine. So you already know to go to different labs available or to look into the different labs available, two options. One is either domain wise and second one is in participating institutes, right? If we click on one of the logo, it will take us to the labs developed by that particular institute. So now let's see the different labs available for circuit branch people, right? So when I say circuit in virtual lab, we have two. One is electronics and communication domain and one more is electrical engineering, right? So a few points to summarize to say in particular. One is, as you already know, some of the concepts we know we have common to different branches, right? So we might find a lab for that particular concept in other domains. Second point is some of the concepts might be explained under multiple labs. So now you have already seen lab for data structure. There are multiple labs available for that, right? Similarly, we have examples for that in electronics domain as well. So let me take you through electronics and communication domains only. So I had clicked on that. So these are the labs available. You can see labs from very basic topic to very advanced one. So you can see lab for basic electronics, also VLSI and so on. So today let me, in this particular session, let me take you through a few of the labs available, which takes you to different simulator interfaces. Okay. To start with, under this particular platform, we have plenty of labs available for digital electronics subject or logic design subject developed by different institutes. So I'll take you through one of the lab, say digital electronics circuits lab developed by IIT Kharagpur. Okay, so the lab interface looks same. It is the introduction for this particular lab. Here are the list of experiments available. Then are the audience, feedback, and technology used. So if any plugins are required, it will be listed over here. So our concentration is on list of experiments, right? So these are the experiments available under this particular lab. So let's see any one of those. So others will have a similar interface, okay? So I'll take you through eighth experiment, that is analysis of flip-flops. So again, the content covered is similar. So I request each user to read the procedure before you do the experiment. So here is the introduction for this particular experiment. Here is the complete theory behind this particular topic. This is the objective. This is a procedure to perform the experiment over here under this particular virtual lab platform. This is the simulator available. These are the set of questions to test our own understanding and other reference links. So now I'll directly go to simulator. let's see how different is this particular simulator. So this particular experiment or this particular lab requires Adobe Flash Player to be installed. That is a simple plugin which will be usually blocked by our browsers. So once we allow it to run, we can get the experiments to work. So I have enabled Flash Player now. Now, if I click on simulator, I'll get to use simulator available. So you can see there are 4 parts. What are these? So part 1 deals with this to introduce you the different flip-flops. Okay, so part 1 is with respect to SR, part 2 with JK, part 3 with D, and so on. Fine. To observe the similar interface here, this is a portion of simulator to observe the waveform. Here is a circuit. So we will find other labs where we can rig up our own circuit connecting ICs and on and all. Here it is fixed. These are the options to provide inputs. Here are the LED output indicators, and here is a clock control button. How to start? So we know whenever we have ICs connected, we need to provide VCC as well as ground, right? So we have 2 ICs connected. So we have 2 VCC and ground. So VCC 1 and 2. So first step is to enable that. Without enabling VCC, we will not able to click this clock start button. Okay, so first let's click over here and enable both VCC 1 and 2. So once we enable that, we can use this particular button. So when I click clock start button, you can see over here clocks are running, right? So I'll stop the clock temporarily. Here you can see there is one more option called number of clock pulses. What is that? So here, say if I give a number 4, for each click of clock start button, for each combination of input, for these many clock cycles, you can see the output. For example, if I want to implement set condition, I'll make S as 1 and I'll keep R in 0 state. Now, if I click on clock start button, for 4 clock cycles, you can see Q has turned to 1 state, then the execution stops. Yeah, similarly, the other conditions can be implemented. So this is one of the example for flip-flop. There are other parts as well which works in a similar way. So other experiment under this particular lab will also have a similar interface. I'll move to the main virtual lab platform under electronics and communication engineering. Let's see next lab. So we know whenever we say electronics, we know one of the component is circuit solving, right? So again, we have multiple labs for circuit solving. So we know when we say circuit solving, we have multiple laws, theorems, and so on, which we study, right? So there are 2 labs under this particular main website available. So one is analog signals network and measurement lab, which is mainly oriented for practice purpose, where we cannot change the circuit. We can only, for a fixed circuit, we can only change the parameter value and get the different observation sets. And we have one more lab called electric circuits lab developed by Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, where we can rig up our own circuit and apply the concepts. Okay, so let me take you to electric circuits lab developed by Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. Okay, fine. So these are the experiments available over here. So let's see one of the example, say Thevenin's theorem. Again, the content covered is similar. I'll directly go to simulator. So one thing to note regarding the labs developed by Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham as well as IIT Kanpur is whenever we try to access simulator, it asks for login, as you can see over here. So this was initially maintained just to keep a track of how many users are using this particular experiment. Okay, so you can just create your account and using your login credentials, you can keep on using the simulator available. So now I have already created my account, so I'll directly log in. Okay. So once I log in, I will get to use the simulator. So when I try to access simulator, it asks for login. Okay. It is loading. Okay, fine, I'll try here. I have opened in a separate tab. Yes. So again, this particular lab works with Adobe Flash Player plugin. So I will enable that. Yes, just a second. Yes, I'll allow it to run. Once I enable Adobe Flash Player, I'll get the control for my simulator window. It is loading. Okay, it is taking some time. So let's come back later on. I'll show you one more lab under new lab development site. Okay, so if you can see over here under the main website, you will not find a lab for microcontroller, right? But that particular lab is available under new lab development platform. Okay, so as Beryl sir has already explained regarding that, here is a button called new lab development. So when I click on that, it takes me over here. So under Explore Lab, there are two options available. One is Approved Labs and one more is Labs under Development. So under Approved Labs, you can see there is a lab for 8051 microcontroller. Okay, so when I click on that, you can see currently these three are the experiments available under 8051 microcontroller and applications lab. So let's see one of the example. This is the interface how the lab looks. I'll directly go to simulation, and this is the simulator window. So you can see here is a small editor. Here is a peripheral. This is the memory. So here we can write our own code and execute. If not, we can copy some sample codes and execute that for the understanding purpose. Okay, and here it's a peripheral to observe the output. This is to observe the memory mapping, and here is to observe the pin mapping. Okay, so this particular experiment is oriented in interfacing 8051 microcontroller with display devices. So when I say display device, there are two. One is 7-segment display and one more is LED. Okay, so now let me copy the sample code available over here. I'll copy this and paste it in the editor window. Okay, so here you have run and debug option for execution. So I click on debug for step-by-step execution. You can see the current line highlighted in green color, next line in blue color. So if there is any error in the code, it will be highlighted in red color. Okay, you can see the output over here. You can see the value in P0 is the value of current line 6D, and here you can see the pin values, right? Here I have an option to change the port selection. So here if I select port 1 and if I click on debug button, you will not see the output because port selected in the code is P0. So either I need to change the port over here, port name over here in the code. If not, I need to change the port selection over here. Okay, so this is a lab for microcontroller currently available under Virtual Lab platform. So this particular thing is loading. Let me try to reload and see. Yes. So now the simulator is available. So this is the simulator. Here we can rig up our circuit. These are the components available, and here I can change its value. Okay, so to show you the demo, we need to click on each component, drag and place it over here, connect each component using wires. If the connection is complete, it will be highlighted in black color at the endpoints. So once I complete my entire connection required, I can use this non-contact ammeter or voltmeter to measure the required parameter. So for example, if I want to measure the current in that particular branch, then I can place non-contact ammeter over here. Since the circuit is open, the current value is 0 ampere now. If I complete the connection and check, we will get the appropriate current value displayed over here. Okay, and I can now change the way how it looks by clicking schematic over here. I can click on show values button to see individual component values. Also, I can click on each component value, and over here I can vary to change its component. Each component value can be varied by varying over here. Okay, so this is a lab where we can rig up our own circuit and apply the concepts. So these are the few of the different variations available for circuit branch or circuit domain people under this virtual lab platform. So with this, I'll stop sharing my screen now. Also, I'll stop my presentation over here. Now I'll be handing over the session to my colleague Aishwarya Hegde. So she'll be taking you through a few of the other labs available. Okay, so thank you. Over to you, Aishwarya.
Thank you, Shrishta. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aishwarya Hegde, and I'm working as a junior research fellow at Center for System Design, NITK Surathkal. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Aishwarya.
Yeah. As by now you all have an idea of what virtual lab is. So I'll be demonstrating on some of the civil engineering labs. So I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. So as you know, to access the simulation-based lab in the virtual lab, you have to go to vlab.co.in, and in that to perform any experiments related to your discipline. If you go to broad areas of virtual lab, there are different disciplines. So as I said, I'll be demonstrating on the civil engineering labs. So I'll go to the civil engineering labs. So when we go to the civil engineering labs, there are about 14 labs that are developed by different institutes. As you can see, there are labs developed by IIIT Hyderabad, NIT Karnataka, IIT Delhi, and IIT Roorkee. So we'll see some of these labs. So to start with, we'll start with the strength of material lab. So here, as you can see, the format of the labs are same as it was demonstrated in the earlier sessions. So here I'll go to list of experiments to see the labs that are under strength of material lab. So there are about 14 labs in strength of material lab. So we'll see the first one, that is the Izod impact test. Again, the template of these experiments are the same. There is theory, there is procedure, then there is simulator. Simulator is where you do the experiments, and then there is self-evaluation, where there are some quiz questions that are thrown to the students, which the students can answer. And also the procedure is basically the procedure to do the simulation and not the procedure of the experiment. So we'll go to the simulator and do the experiment. So we'll start with the Izod impact test. As you can see in the simulator, the objectives and the apparatus used are defined. So you can see here. So I'll click on next. Now in the first step, the user is given an option to select the type of specimen. So there are two specimens, cast iron specimen and a mild steel specimen. So I'll select the mild steel specimen. Once I select this mild steel specimen, in the table, you can see the dimensional specification of the mild steel specimen. So once that is done, I'll click on next. Now in the first step of the experimentation, what we'll do is we'll pull the lever so that the hammer will strike the anvil portion, and we'll note down the loss of energy due to friction. So here we are not keeping any specimen, and we'll note down the loss of energy due to friction. So here it is about 2 joules. So once that is done, now we'll place the specimen in the anvil portion. Since it is Izod impact test, the specimen will be placed perpendicular. As you can see, the specimen is placed perpendicular and the notch is facing the direction of the hammer. So I'll click on next. Now, since I've placed the specimen in the anvil portion, I'll pull this lever so this hammer will strike the specimen in the anvil portion, and that time will note down the total loss of energy during the transit of the hammer. So here it is about 41 joules. So then we'll calculate the energy for failure of the specimen, that is 41 joules minus 2 joules, that is the energy loss due to friction. Once we calculate the energy for failure of the specimen, so for this trial it is 39 joules. So we'll click on next. So for now trial 2, what we'll do is we'll take one more specimen. Again, we'll place it in the anvil portion of the setup. As you can see, for the second specimen, the dimensional specification is given in the table. So I'll click on next. Now I'll pull the lever and allow the hammer to strike the specimen. Then I'll note down the total loss of energy during transit of hammer. So for trial 2, it is about 41 joules. Then I'll calculate the energy for failure of specimen, that is 41 joules minus the 2 joules. So similarly for trial 3, we'll take one more specimen, place it in the anvil portion and allow the hammer to strike the specimen, and that time we'll calculate the total loss of energy during transit of hammer. So here it is about 43 joules. Then we'll calculate. So after 3 trials are over, the table will show the readings of all the 3 trials. Now we'll calculate the average energy for failure of specimen, that is average of the 3 readings. So it is about 39.67 joules. So this was one of the experiment in the strength of material lab. So going back, as you can see, there are many other labs in civil engineering. We'll see the fluid machinery lab. So in fluid mechanics, there are about 2 labs, fluid machinery labs and the fluid mechanics lab. So we'll see the fluid machinery lab. So we'll go to the list of experiments. So you can see here there are about 7 experiments. So we'll see the performance characteristics of Francis turbine. So here the template remains the same, but the look and feel of the lab is a bit different compared to the previous one which we saw. So as because these are newly developed labs which are hosted by IIT Bombay. So I'll go to simulation lab. So we'll go to simulation. So here in this experiment, we are calculating doing a performance characteristics of Francis turbine. So here in the simulation, there are 2 options under constant head condition and constant speed condition. So I'll select the first one, that is constant head condition. So as you can see here, the objectives are defined, the apparatus used are defined, and the whole setup is shown. Now in the description, some important definitions are given. Now I'll click on next. Now in the first step, we'll start the pump by clicking on the green button. So I'll click on the green button. Since it is constant head condition, we'll set the head in the first step itself. So from the drop down menu, I'll select a head. So here the user is given an option to select the head. So I'll click on OK. I've selected the head as 11 meter. Then selected head value, there's a question popping up. Selected head value is constant throughout the experiment, say true or false. So I'll click on, so it is true. So I'll click on OK. So these questions are added so that the experimentation does not become monotonous to the students and the students are really invested in the experimentation. So I'll click on next. Now I'll open the inlet valve to keep the pressure constant. So once that is done, I'll click on next. Now for the first trial, no load will be applied on the span, and for that we'll calculate the corresponding torque. So now the formula to calculate the torque is given, as you can see here. So putting the observation values, we'll calculate the value and enter the values. I'll click on tick. In case the answer is wrong, an option called result is given. If I click on that, the correct answer will be automatically given to the students. So I'll click on next. Now, since it is constant head condition, the speed of the motor will vary. So for that, to note down the speed of the motor, I insert a tachometer and then calculate the speed. So it is about 1570 RPM. So I'll click on next. Now I'll note down the hook gauge reading. The initial and the final readings are noted down. Then I'll calculate the head of water and the actual discharge. So head of water is calculated by final reading minus the initial reading. Then I'll calculate the actual discharge. So as you can see, the formula to calculate the actual discharge is given here. So I'll calculate the values and I enter the answer. Then I'll give check. So here, as you can see in the formula, there are some constant parameters like coefficient of discharge. So those values are directly given to the students here, as you can see. So there's one more question popping up. Francis turbine is it's a reaction turbine. So I'll click on OK. So that is done. So click on next. So there's one more question. Under Francis turbine constant head, addition of weight increases the speed. Say true or false. It is false. So I'll click on OK. So now for the trial 1 which we conducted, we'll calculate the parameters like input power. So as you can see, the formula to calculate that is given here. Then we'll calculate the output power, that is 2 pi NP by 60. Then we'll calculate the efficiency, that is output power by input power into 100. It is calculated in percentage. Then we'll calculate unit power in watt, unit speed in RPM, given by n by square root of h, unit discharge in meter cube per second. So we are done with the trial 1. So now for trial 2, we'll increase the weight on the pan. So we'll add a weight of 2 kgs on the pan. Then we'll calculate the torque for that. Corresponding torque we'll calculate using the formula shown here. And I'll click on check. So the torque is calculated for the weight we apply. Then as since it is constant head condition, the speed will vary. So I'll insert a tachometer and note down the speed of the motor. It is about 1630 RPM. So similarly, I'll calculate the hook gauge reading. The initial and the final readings are calculated. Then we'll calculate the head of water, that is final reading minus the initial reading. Similarly, we'll calculate the actual discharge. So there's a question, head of water is, as I said, it is final hook gauge reading minus the initial hook gauge reading. So for trial 2, we'll calculate the input power in watt, output power given by 2 pi NT by 60, where N is the speed of the motor, T is the torque. Then we'll calculate the efficiency in percentage. Then we'll calculate unit power given by output power by square root of h cube, where h is the constant head that we took. We took the constant head as 11 meters. So once that is done, for trial 3, again we'll increase the weight on the pan. And for that, we'll calculate the corresponding torque. So using the formula, we'll enter the value and click on check. So again, we'll note down the speed of the motor for this trial. It is about 1580 RPM. Then we'll note down the hook gauge reading and calculate the actual discharge. So there's a question. Francis turbine is located between high pressure water source and the low pressure water exit. So I'll click on OK. So for finally, for trial 3, I'll calculate the input power, output power, efficiency, unit power, unit speed given by n by square root of h, where n is the speed of the motor for this trial and h is the constant head that we selected in step 1. So once that is done, I'll stop the pump by clicking on the red button. So I click on next. Now we can increase the number of trials by increasing the weight on the pan. So we stopped at 3 kg. Similarly, you can keep on increasing the weight on the pan and continue the experimentation. So now once we are done with this, we'll plot the graph of efficiency versus unit speed, unit power versus unit speed, and unit discharge versus unit speed. So this was one of the experiment in the fluid machinery labs. So we'll go back. So here you can see in civil engineering, there are 2 labs related to environmental engineering, that is environmental engineering 1 and environmental engineering 2. So we'll see one of the lab. So here, if we go to list of experiments, there are about 7 experiments. So these labs can be used by even by school level student, also by pre-university level students. So these are basic experiments. So we'll see the simple experiment related to determination of pH. So here the aim of the experiment is to measure the pH of the water sample using a pH meter. So I'll go to the simulation. So if I go to the simulator, the objectives are defined, the apparatus used are defined. So I'll click on next. So here in the first step, the user is given an option to select the type of sample he wants to measure the pH on. So I'll select the lime water sample. For that, first I'll prepare the lime water solution. So now, once the lime water solution is prepared, the next step is to calibrate the pH meter. So for that, first step is to clean the electrodes of the pH meter using distilled water and then dry the electrodes using a tissue paper. So once that is done, I'll click on next. Okay, there's a question. The pH scale is it's a logarithmic scale. Okay, so click on next. So now to calibrate, I'll dip the electrodes, the cleaned electrodes of the pH meter in a buffer solution of known pH. So here we are dipping it in a buffer solution of pH 4. So buffer solutions are used to calibrate pH meter because there is a change in pH. Say true or false. It is true. So I click on next. Now the first part of the calibration is over. So we clean the electrodes again and then dry it using a tissue paper. pH is a measure of hydrogen ions. So I'll click on next. So now in the second part of calibration, we'll dip the buffer solution in a pH of 9.2. So we're dipping the electrodes in a buffer solution of known pH. So now that ends the calibration of the pH meter. So now in the next step, we'll be determining the pH value of the sample. So before that, we'll clean the electrodes of the pH meter using a distilled water and then dry it using a tissue paper. So now to measure the pH of the sample is a lime water solution which we prepared in step 1. So what is the neutral value of pH scale? It is equal to 7. So I'll click on next. So now we are dipping it in the lime water solution which we prepared in step 1 and then measuring the pH of it. So here the pH of the lime water is 1.9. What factors can affect the pH of drinking water? Temperature, dissolved minerals, carbon dioxide concentration, all of the above. So I'll go with all of the above. So it's correct. So I'll click on next. Now since the pH of the lime water is 1.9, the lime water is acidic in nature. So I'll click on submit. So since if the pH is equal to 7, it is neutral in nature. If it is less than 7, it is acidic, and if it is greater than 7, it is basic in nature. So this was one of the experiment in the environmental engineering lab. So similarly, we'll see a lab called marine structure. So if we go to list of experiments, there are about 7 experiments. So we'll see the slump test. So here in the slump test, we are determining the workability of concrete mix. So we'll go to the simulation directly. So here in the simulation, you can see the objectives of the experiment is defined, the apparatus used are defined. So I'll click on next. Now in the first step, I'll note down the dimensions of the slump cone and then calculate the volume of slump cone. So you can see here the formula to calculate the volume of slump cone is given. So using the formulas and the dimensions given, I'll calculate the value and enter the value. So there's a question, difference in the radius of the slump cone from bottom to top is it is 5 centimeters. So I'll click on OK. So in the second step, what we'll do is we'll fix a mixed proportionality ratio, and based on that, we'll calculate the cement content that needs to be taken. So as you can see, the formula to calculate the cement content is given here. So using that formula, I'll calculate and enter the value. Similarly, I'll calculate the quantity of fine aggregates that needs to be taken. So I'll click on. In case you enter a wrong answer to such in these cases, an option called result will be given so that the students will get the correct answers from the simulator. Then we'll calculate the quantity of coarse aggregates. So I'll click on check. Similarly, we calculate the water content that needs to be taken. So now, in using a measuring scale, I'll measure all these quantities based on our calculation. So we'll take about 1.6 kgs of cement. Similarly, we'll measure the fine aggregates that needs to be taken. So we'll take about 4.3 kgs of fine aggregates and about 6.7 kgs of coarse aggregate. So once the measurements are done, we'll calculate the water that needs to be added. It is about 670 ml. So mixed proportionality used in the experiment is 1:2.7:4.2. So I'll click on next. Now once we have measured these quantities, we'll take the coarse aggregate, the fine aggregate and the cement in a basket and then mix it using a trowel to form a dry mix. Quantity of cement used in the experiment is, we have taken about 1.6 kgs of cement. So I'll click on next. Now we'll add the measured quantity of water to the dry mix and then mix it using a trowel. The mixing is done such that there is no lump formation in the concrete mix. Now quantity of fine and coarse aggregate taken in the experiment is 4.3 and 6.7 kgs. Okay. So click on next. Now we'll fix this slump cone to the horizontal base and then, okay, we'll click on next. Then we'll transfer the concrete mix which we prepared to the slump cone in 4 layers. So the first layer is transferred to the slump cone, and each layer what we'll compact it using a tamping rod by giving 25 number of uniformly distributed blows. So now we'll transfer the second layer to the slump cone. Again, we'll compact the second layer using a tamping rod. So once we are done compacting this second layer, we'll add the third layer of the concrete mix to the slump cone using a trowel. So we are adding the concrete mix in 4 layers. So now we'll compact the third layer. So the compaction is done to remove the air voids that are present in the slump cone. So we'll now transfer the fourth layer to the slump cone. So this is the final layer. So we'll compact it using a tamping rod by giving about 25 number of blows. So the purpose of tamping is to obtain uniform compaction in order to avoid voids. It is true. So I'll click on next. Now we'll remove the excess of concrete that is present on the slump cone using, okay, there's a question. Each layer of the mix is stamped for, it is stamped for 25 number of times. So I'll click on next. Now we'll detach the slump cone from the horizontal base by moving it in the vertical direction. So I'll click on next. Now we'll measure the difference in height of the slump and the slump cone. So it is about 18 centimeter. So there's a question, height of the slump cone is, it is about 30 centimeter. So I'll click on next. So the slump value is 18 centimeter for the mixed proportionality ratio we fixed. So this was one of the experiment in the civil engineering lab. As you can see, then there are labs related to transportation engineering, mining geology. Also, if you go to the new lab development portal, there are other labs that are in development stage. So I think that's it from my side. Now the session is open for question and answers. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask. If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask. Okay, there's a question why we are not using CHARPY test. I think CHARPY test is there. So if you go to, okay. So if you go to strength of material lab, and if you go to list of experiments, the second experiment is CHARPY impact test, which you can see.
Hello. Yeah, so there is one more question regarding how can we ensure that students are doing experiments regularly in labs? Actually, there is no any evaluation available to evaluate students. There is no currently any exams are available through virtual labs. So hello, Gangadharan sir.
Yeah, you come to question and answer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm available. You can answer the question. No issue.
Okay, sir. Actually, there is a question regarding the evaluation. Can we how
Yeah,
can we
presently
ensure that students are doing experiments?
we don't have something called an evaluation in this. But if you see, you can make use of your own Moodle or LMS, which can be used where student will come back with the report, whatever he has done. And he will be finding observation. I mean, he'll be writing observation and all that as we do in normal laboratory, and that can be evaluated. There is no automated online evaluation other than some of the experiments you have where the answer is right or not, which is given, especially vibration and dynamics, as well as in kinematics, that is mechanics of machine. We do have on-the-spot evaluation of the answer provided by the student after calculation.
So to add on to Professor K.V. Gangadharan sir's point, you can ask students to take the screenshot of the simulation. Also, you can ask some recording softwares to record the simulation, whatever the students do.
It's a web page, not a software. Kamal 333 has given a comment that it's a web page, not a software. And it is not a software by that definition. Agreed. Any other questions? Beryl, can you share the KTU mapping again?
Yes, sir. I'll share it one more time. And sir, there was one more question about labs in textile technology. So, textile technology actually, there is something under development. We could actually find it textile technology under the labs under development module quite some time ago. But right now we are not able to find it. But in all likelihood, it is there and it is under development.
But many of the mechanical labs will be useful for textile related, because motion and things of that kind which they do, but not on related to the string and things of that kind, that may not be there. I don't think we have a direct VLab for computer aided drawing or drafting as of now. But there was somebody trying out with engineering graphics. Engineering graphics is nothing but your engineering drawing.
And
For
regarding
Mumbai,
VLS,
yeah, go ahead.
yes, yes, sir. So regarding VLSI lab, there are two labs available under a virtual lab platform. So one is under electronics and communication domain, and one more is under computer science and engineering domain. So currently, two labs for VLSI.
So there is a request for Mumbai University mapping. Did we do it, Beryl? Because for
Yes, we have it. I'll fetch it now.
Lokmanya Tilak we did, no? So it was in Mumbai.
We have it. I'm fetching it now, sir.
Yeah, okay. Mechanical engineering workshops. Unfortunately, in the workshop, what we intend to do is we are also teaching them the dexterity, handling of tools, etc., and of course, dignity of labor also. That I don't know whether it can be virtualized. There are things. It is like asking, can I do a virtual soldering? You can do a virtual soldering, but will not get any end product. So that may not be an option, I believe. Yeah, this is a web page which will run on any of your browser, whether it is Android or iOS or Linux, etc. It is agnostic to all that. Midwin Mukunda has asked about how to engage students on manufacturing. Manufacturing, did Vishwa show something today? Or mechanical only I
No.
have shown?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir. Only
No, sir. Mechanical.
Yeah, because it is a 1.5 hour session. Yes, we have a longer session programs where we also demonstrate. So I would urge all of you to explore each of the lab. Nothing to worry, nothing is going to break or spoil. You can explore the labs, go to the common topic called mechanical engineering, see the different labs. Especially for mechatronics, you need to look at mechanical, electrical, and electronics, plus computer science. Okay, Mumbai University syllabus is also mapped and it is there on the on your chat box. Yeah,
sir, I think there was a question about heat transfer lab also.
Heat transfer lab. One question that Android, I mistook it. Android, he is asking about Flash plugin. Of course, in Android, Flash plugin is not working now. So those experiments which has to work on Flash plugin, you may have to look at a laptop only. But slowly it is getting changed. We have changed many of the Flash animation to HTML and Java. Yeah, if no further questions, I think it's a nice time, 2 hours. I think it's a time to wind up. Beryl, you can hand it over to Jyoti Group.
Okay, good afternoon all. Thank you, sir. For the last 2 hours, we have been listening to the webinar session on the topic virtual labs. Hello? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Right. Okay, delivered by Dr. K.V. Gangadharan and team from NIT Surathkal, organized by the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Jyoti Engineering College, in association with SA India College Club and Association of Mechanical Engineering. The session was really interesting and the demonstrations were quite informative. Hope you all enjoyed it. On behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, Jyoti Engineering College, we express our sincere thanks to Dr. K.V. Gangadharan for sparing his valuable time from his busy schedule and delivering such an informative session. Thank you, sir. Special thanks to Mr. Beryl Thomas, Ms. Shrestha, and Ms. Aishwarya Hegde for their presentations and demonstrations. On behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, we express our sincere thanks to all the speakers for sparing their valuable time from their busy schedule and delivering such informative sessions. Thank you all. Next, I would like to thank the head of the department, principal, and the management of Jyoti Engineering College for extending all facilities and support for the successful completion of this workshop. Lastly, I extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to each and every participant, both external and internal, for joining this venture and making it a grand success. Thank you all for registering and attending the session. We expect our sincere participation in our future programs as well. Regarding the certificates, participation e-certificates will be distributed to all the attended participants via email, hopefully within a week. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.